We'll call the meeting for January 10th, 2012 at 8 p.m. to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will do a roll call. Mr. Bacamino.
Present.
Ms. Collegio.
Here.
Mr. Green.
Here.
Mr. Sadowski.
Here.
Mr. Stevens.
Present.
Mr. Warner.
Here.
Mr. St. Pierre. Here. Adoption of the consent agenda.
So moved.
A motion by Green.
Support with...
Support by Stevens.
Discussion?
Discussion, Mr. Stevens.
If you'll notice in front of you, there is a request to schedule an administrative hearing for Novo Motor Acoustical Systems on Sherwood. It's setting the date for the administrative hearing for January 24th. I would like to add that to the consent agenda and make that item 4J.
Take it off.
Mr. Green?
Agreed.
Support?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Item number 5, Mr. Secretary.
Item 5, adoption of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Support with
Who made the motion? Mr. Sadowski.
discussion.
Go ahead, Mr. Stevens.
Mr. Chair, I would like to add to the agenda the request for approval of the City of Warren Police Officers Association ratified labor contract and make that 17J.
Mr. Sadowski, do you accept that amendment?
Yes, sir.
Any other amendments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Item number 6, Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I need to back up one. There is a correction also on the consent agenda that I forgot to mention.
Oh, please, go to item number 4 and we'll take another motion.
Okay. Item 4I, it currently, it says Fire Department. It should say Police Department.
Motion to amend the consent agenda as indicated.
So moved.
Motion by Green.
Support.
Support by Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we've corrected that. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Item number 6.
Item 6, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 13th, 2011, and regular meeting of December 20th, 2011.
So moved.
Motion by Warner.
Support.
Support by Green. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 7.
Item 7, approval of the bills.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Green. Support? Support by Ms. Collegio. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll question the motion. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Collegio?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Item passes. Next item.
Item 8, approval of the building authority checks, meeting of January 3rd, 2012.
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Support.
Sadowski. Support by Bacamino. Discussion? Question the motion. Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Collegio?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes.
Item 9, announcements.
Any announcements?
Mr. President.
Bacamino, then Ms. Collegio.
Thank you, Mr. President and Ms. Collegio, for yielding that. Just want to thank everybody at Mount Calvary Church over off of Hupp and Packard there. Yesterday I attended their, it's called Brave Believers, every Monday from 6 to 7:45. A very good thing to do down there, and had a great dinner. And thank all the people that worked in the kitchen, feeding approximately 75 people last night and each week. Food donations are always needed, as well as anybody donating. I just found out they do a bingo for the children. So if anybody's watching, I know we do a lot of food donations and clothing donations, but if you have any toys that are new and you want to donate for children's bingo while they're eating and then they go to worship afterwards, Mount Calvary is also taking those as well. Their phone number is 757-0319, or you could just also call me at 850-5221, and I can get the toys, food, or clothing to the church. Thank you very much, and thank you also to Reverend Fascioni for all the hard work.
Ms. Clegio.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. The Warren Historic Commission, along with an Eagle Scout that's working to get his, an Eagle Scout candidate, they're collecting bottles every Monday right across the hall here in the gallery from 7 to 9. The Warren Crime Commission also asked me to announce that they're collecting blankets for the homeless. Those can also be collected here at the Warren Community Center, Owen Jack Center, and I believe the mayor's office through the month of January. One quick announcement, I just found out, actually just within the last hour, that my email has been hacked. So if you receive an email from me, which a lot of people have, yes, please don't open it right now until I can get that issue taken care of. You can call me at 586-216-7437. It's the third time I've had an issue with this in the last 2 months. So, and one last thing, I just wanted to make note of the fact that, you know, I have the privilege of sitting on the Planning Commission as an ex officio with Councilman Stevens here, and I just want to make sure that Warren residents know that if you have any questions or concerns with anything on a planning agenda, anything in your neighborhood pertaining to that, please call us. That's what we're here for, and I'm sure Mr. Stevens, you know, feels the same. I know I received some calls from residents after an item was already through, and, you know, you need to get to us before it. So I'm here, he's here, give me a call. Once again, 586-216-7437, and don't open that email from me until it says, you know, everything's taken care of on it. So thank you.
Any other announcements? Any other announcements?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Stevens.
I just wanted, this is on the consent agenda, but I like to notice people that are taking their time out to provide service to the city, and they volunteer themselves. This is the notice of reappointment of Brett Felton to the Disabilities Commission, and I just wanted to acknowledge that.
He has a quite background. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Sadowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On December 23rd, we lost a dear friend of ours, a longtime Warren resident by the name of Vince Cicero. Vince was my scoutmaster for the first 5 years that I was in Scouts. Very well loved by the boys that were part of the troop, and also the people within the church and the community. Very light-hearted gentleman, taught us quite a bit about scouting, and he was a business owner here in Warren. He owned a hair salon, which still is in business right now and has been in business for over 50 years. Vince passed away. I'm sorry, it wasn't December 23rd, it was January 3rd that he passed away, and I'll dearly miss him, and our prayers go out to his family, but also the impact that he's made on our community within St. Sylvester's as well as Warren will be felt for many years, so sorely miss Mr. Cicero. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I have an announcement. I, too, was hacked. I did not go to the United Kingdom. I was not apprehended somewhere in Britain or London or wherever they said. So if you did get an email, don't send money. And also, you know, be very vigilant in regards to that, because it does take a lot of effort to get your information back as well. I also want to make note that appeared before us, I believe at our last council meeting, was Wesley Arnold. He put together a history of Warren, and I had a chance to review it, and it was quite an effort that he did. If there's any way you can get it online or make it available to anybody, and Mr. Arnold, please come back, and hopefully you can put it online, because it was great reading. I really did enjoy looking through the history, and if you've been a resident of this city for a long time, it brought back very fine memories of the city and what it's gone through and what it is today.
Cecil, I think he does have that online. I think as part of that backup, there was a website on there, so.
And hopefully we can provide it on the city's website, because it's worth looking at for everybody.
A lot of nice pictures.
He really did. He did a great job. I was very, very impressed. Any other announcements? Other than that, then we'll go to the item number 10, public hearing.
Item 10 is a public hearing, determination of a nuisance at 11456 Cadillac, vacant, dilapidated, one-story vinyl and asbestos house with crawl space, shrub and tree at front of house, front and side concrete porches, rear wood deck, chain link fence at west and east side, and miscellaneous debris, and consideration and adoption of a resolution.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that would like to discuss this matter?
Would you turn your microphone on, sir? And repeat your name? There's a button.
Push the button at the base.
Okay. Okay, my name is Ed Ledford. I'm a longtime Warren resident. I own the property at 11468 Cadillac. I bought it in 2008. When I purchased the property, the house in question was empty, dilapidated. No one has ever touched it in all of these years. I have to bait my house constantly because that house is full of rats. The inside of the house is falling down, the roof is falling down, it just reeks of mold. I've had nothing but problems with that property since the day it was there. Nobody mows the lawn. We have to have the people mow the front lawn, and it's just terrible. The house needs to be tore down. There is no way you can fix it up. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Ledford. Does anybody else would like to speak on this matter? Seeing nobody else, we'll close the public hearing. Does anybody have any questions for anyone?
A motion
Motion
to
by
abate
Mr.
with
Bacamino.
discussion.
Mr. Werner. Discussion, Mr. Bacamino.
Yes. Is anybody here from the city? Mr. James. Hi. We get this a lot, and I'm thanking the citizen that came up. Is there any way we could add, and make an addendum that we bait the house before, because what happens is we tear these houses down, then the varmints go to the next houses like this man here, and I'd rather have us bait, kill everything that's there, and then demolish it, so he wouldn't have to do that, if that would be something maybe we can get support with.
The program we have now, it's mostly complaint-based, but most all demos are turned over to the health department for baiting prior to this. During the demolition is part of the contract for the contractor to bait the property prior to demolition. So we're going to try to get them all before they get out of there.
So we don't have to add that, it's in here already?
Yes, it's in the scope of work for the contractors, and it's a city policy. We have the health department around all the time.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for the
Okay.
citizen for bringing that to our attention.
Anybody else on council? Question the motion, Mr. Bacamino? Well, we can say all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed to tearing it down? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 11. This is a public hearing. Oh, no, go ahead, Mr. Stevens.
Item 11, public hearing, determination of a nuisance at 11044 Hupp, dilapidated wood garage only, and consideration and adoption of a resolution.
All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and take motions in regards to it.
Motion to abate.
Motion by Green. Support? Mr. Bacamino. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Item number 13, Mr. Secretary.
Item 13 is also a public hearing, determination of a nuisance at 25106 Shaner, vacant, dilapidated, one-story partial face brick and aluminum house with crawl space, garage, shed, block wall at patio at front of home, glass enclosed patio at south of home, concrete open patio slab at rear, chain link fence, cement along north side, and miscellaneous debris, and consideration and adoption of a resolution.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak to this matter? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing, have discussion amongst council members with a motion. Motion by Green.
Support.
Support by Collegio. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? So moved. Mr. Secretary, let's do item number 12. We didn't do Montrose.
Oh, item 12, public hearing, determination of a nuisance at 20830 Montrose, vacant, dilapidated, one-story aluminum house, slab on grade, shed, shrubs, wood and chain link fences, concrete slab north side, and miscellaneous debris, in consideration and adoption of a resolution.
This is a public hearing as well. Is there anybody who would like to speak to this? Please come forward. Thank you. And please turn on the microphone and state your name for the record. Thanks.
It's on. Hi, my name is John Jokai. I'm the real estate agent, actually, that just sold this property. We closed on this property back the 28th of December. We were the listing agent as well as the buyer's agent. The homeowner currently lives in England. We closed on the property, like I said, the 28th. He's in England right now. He will be back within the next couple of weeks. However, permits will be pulled on this property. He's got every intention on pulling all permits, mechanical, electrical, everything that needs to be done to bring this up to code and eventually live in the property. He could not make it tonight. Like I said, he's out in England. I was born and raised in Warren, but I moved to Oxford, and I came here on his behalf just to say that there is that he is definitely going to move forward and rehab this whole entire property and live in it. So that's pretty much all I have to. And as far as the removal, and he's absolutely on board to go with all permits. He's pulling the permits as soon as a week for the roof, to redo the roof, and everything else is going to be handled within the next couple, weather permitting, as soon as possible to get the property rehabbed.
Is that you living in Oxford, Michigan, or Oxford, England?
Oxford, Michigan.
Okay. I was just wondering if there's any connection there.
Actually,
Okay.
I got here at 8 this morning thinking that it was this morning, and I made a mistake, so
Yeah, you did
here for
make
the
a
second time.
12 hours.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is this, okay, all right, no, never mind. I'll close the public hearing. I haven't been here for a while, so I'll yield to my colleagues here.
Tony, please. This has nothing to do with the agenda that you got right now, but I'm telling you, if you're going to knock down a house and don't put the bait in there to kill him before you knock it down, it's just going to go to the neighbors.
Absolutely.
But if they start knocking it down, they're gone.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to this matter? All right, if not, we'll close the public hearing and take motion. Is there a motion?
Motion to obey.
Motion by Warner.
Support.
Support by Sadowski. Discussion. Mr. Sadowski.
To the attorney, Mr. Jokai, is it?
No, he's the broker.
Or Realtor, I'm sorry. Our backup indicates that 2011 summer taxes are due, along with a weed fine. Has that been taken care of?
Yes, sir, they have. I have a HUD settlement statement that has paid all liens on this property. There was a nuisance abatement. There was also a nuisance abatement that was paid on the 28th, the day of closing. So let me look through my notes here. I can furnish that either today or tomorrow in email if I don't have it, but the abatement was paid as far as all the taxes were paid. Everything has been brought up as far as taxes and liens on this property. All liens to the city, taxes, and there was a shrub, there was a water of $438 that was paid. So they have all been current. But like I said, this was happened on the 28th of closing, so probably a little bit before it gets into the system. But I can prove all, I mean, I can email or fax everything, all the paid bills tomorrow if you'd like.
The individual that you represent, you said that is in England. They're on a work assignment, or?
Yes, he'll be back. He's not there long term. He's not living in England. He's coming back. He's scheduled to come back February 18th, I believe. But his family here isn't where is in the progress of pulling all the permits and getting everything ready. He is going to move into that house. He's on assignment. He's working in England right now, and he will come back. He's definitely, the house is going to be lived in. It's not going to be an investment property. They're not going to look to rent the property. They're definitely going to live in as their primary residence.
The concern that I had is if they're pulling the permits, and this individual will be in England trying to supervise a construction project from 4,000 or 5,000 miles away, I have a bit of a concern regarding that.
Well, yeah, that being said, while he's in England, I'm not sure if there's any permits that are going to be pulled. When he comes back from England, that's when he's going to start the rehab and start the property. All of the property that's going to be handled is going to be through general contractors and licensed contractors.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. James?
Yes,
The overall condition of this house is deemed unfit and unsafe.
yes.
There's
There's been a,
Have we gone into the house?
no, but I have photos of the inside.
Is in the backup, it says water damage due to floors, buckled walls, ceiling and drywall has fallen off, and possible mold.
Yes, the
If
roof
this
is.
is, if this is a health concern to the neighbors?
Could be, yes. Definitely an eyesore. There's been a blue tarp on there for over almost a year that's tattered and just shreds. I'm not sure who the new owner is. We still show William Glacier. Fannie Mae is actually the owner at this time. But there is also a William Glacier. Notices were sent, nuisance hearings were held. No one ever responded. We've been monitoring the house for about a year now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Green?
Mr. James, we don't like tearing down houses that we can get someone to live in.
Correct.
If we abate this tonight, it's going to take 3-4 months for a bid to go out and
Yes.
get it back in, which would give this person time to go out and pull permits and start work and show progress that would satisfy you.
That would work for me, yes.
Should we go through with the abatement or table it for 30 days to show evidence that they're pulling permits? Because we want, if we can save a house, we want to save a house.
Right.
But
I agree with you, but on the backside of that, we've went through quite a process to get to this point, and here we are, top of the ninth, and somebody shows up. We haven't heard from anybody.
well, I understand that, but based on what the other person said, they just purchased the house on the 28th, so they wouldn't have been a party to any of the mailings before.
I would say we go through with the abatement, and if nothing happens, we're there.
Right. Okay, so
And if he was
go
to-
through, and then if he does show progress, we can remove it. We can remove the abatement of the
Yes.
property.
Yes.
Do you have to come back to us for that?
I'd really have to
Or is it
check.
administrative
I'm
at
not
that
sure of the legal aspects of that. Most of the time, when you want to stop something at this point, you need to have a temporary restraining order from Macomb County courts,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
because we've deemed it as a nuisance already through our hearings.
Understandable. Thank you.
Mr. James, I have a question, and maybe this goes to Judge Biernatt. A temporary restraining order for an 849 square foot house is going to be quite a job. Is there anything that the administration can do short of a temporary restraining order? Because if I'm not memory, I don't remember everything, but can you pull a permit after you have a nuisance abatement in place?
Yes.
Okay, so
I believe you could, yes. I mean, we're all about getting these houses occupied
Oh,
and getting
okay,
them back.
and I just want to know, do they have the authority then, under the nuisance abatement, to have that discretion, to have that done, and then basically in essence, you're set aside the nuisance because you're not going to abate it even after we say we declare it to be a nuisance and to be abated? It's been a while for me, I don't know what's the practice.
The temporary restraining order would apply, I believe, to the new owner, and in an effort to stop the demolition of the home. If, in fact, the permits are pulled prior to our commencement of demolition, I believe that the most appropriate way would be come back before this body and ask for a cessation of the abatement. That's what I would think. I haven't researched it, but I think that that would be the proper procedure. You've done this in the past, have you not?
Most of the time, we're aware of what's going to happen before we get here, even though it's all in process, but we have nothing in concrete like permits. If they would have came in and got permits, we probably would have went to the Public Service Director or Mr. Ganem, and he would have made that decision, whether to issue permits or continue with the council.
All right, thank you, Judge. Because, like Mr. Councilman Green indicated, we do want to preserve
Yes.
every possible house we can,
Yep.
especially in this particular climate. I'm looking at the pictures. Where specifically is Montrose? I know it's 48089.
You're about a block off of 8 Mile and a couple blocks west of Hayes.
Okay. And if you can save
It's-
any
it's a
house in that
small
particular area, and if you're going to rebuild this whole place, and I really, quite frankly, it's hard to believe, but 849 square feet, and the inside is really torn apart as well, according to the pictures. If we're going to give them a chance, it probably wouldn't take too long either. So I guess we should leave that discretion with you and stay in touch with the city attorney's office, Judge Biernat, and if we have to come back, then let's do everything we can to preserve the house. You know, we want to give you a chance, but this also puts the incentive or some encouragement to the person to get it done, because we're not going to wait around very much longer. Mr. Stevens?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. James, I know you've looked at this house several times. I looked at it Sunday, 829 square feet. In your estimation, looking at the drywall all off the walls and everything else on the inside, in your estimation, and I won't hold you to it, what do you think it would take to make this home livable?
If I was to go out and hire some contractors, it
As
would be
was
quite a
said.
bit. You're looking at around $20,000. Drywall, a roof averages between, $3,000 to and up. Well, let's just say that, depending on the bids. Drywall insulation, bringing things up to code, updating electrical, heating units. We're not sure if the house has been vandalized. We haven't been in there. I think you're probably looking right around $20,000. And that's with a lot of sweat equity, to be honest with you.
Right, and like you said, the blue tarp has been on, and what I was told, the tarp's been on well over a year, and it's been blowing around, and
It's
so
shredded.
it hasn't been doing its job. And so that, more than likely, the roof boards are gonna have to be replaced. So you're talking about, just for the roof alone, a very expensive roof, more than likely. But I do wanna see houses rehabbed, if they can be rehabbed. I would feel more comfortable if we were to table this item for 30 days for them to show substantial progress, rather than letting them go ahead while it's been abated. And that's just my feelings on it.
Mr. Chair, at this time,
Mr. Warner?
At this time, I will withdraw my motion and make a motion to table for 30 days.
Motion by Warner, support by Sadowski.
Mr. President, can I?
No discussion on a tabling motion.
Stevens?
Stevens, I'm sorry. We'll question the motion. Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes, Dave.
Mr. Bacamino?
No.
Ms. Collegio?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
No.
Mr. Sadowski?
No.
Mr. St. Pierre, no. Is that 4-3 to no to table? Ms. Collegio, did you have discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Mr. James a question.
Yes.
Going back to the rodent issue, when you have a house that's been vacant this long and obviously just sitting there in disrepair, and let's say you had a person that came and bought it and they want to start working on the house, the same issue, is there anything in place if something comes to this point, like you say, we finally make it this far, is there anything in place where the city would go out and work with through the county to try to bait that house before even a person starts pulling permits and working on it? Or can we expect, if there's rodents there, just to kind of disperse to the other neighbors there?
Most of our rodent complaints are generated through complaints, and that's how we get out there. The health department does a pretty good job of that. I can't think of the numbers. It's 150-some complaints we've had just for rodents, and that's baiting. And then there's a lot of follow-up. What we're trying to get into play, and we have that with the contractors now for demolition. That's part of your package, to bait prior to the demolition. We're trying to be a little more aggressive about getting out into the neighborhoods and getting the health department, turning the complaints in, getting the health department to bait.
Right, and when a property gets on, this far to where it's on our agenda, and you go out there and you're doing inspecting, is it normal routine for you while you're out there, or someone from your office to kind of look for a rodent problem, or is it, I know earlier you said that most times we bait. I mean, is it a standard practice that anytime we abate a property and it goes into the process, do we always bait for rodent, or is it most time?
Most of the time, I will say.
And what determines if it's most of the time?
Most of the homes we go look at, the bait boxes are already there.
Okay, thank you. That was my question.
Mr. James, please keep the council office informed. We'll question the motion in regards to the original motion. Mr. Warner?
Well, I'll have to remake my motion, seeing as
I know,
originally
technically you
withdrawn.
can't, but okay. Is that a motion then to abate?
Motion to abate.
Mr. Sadowski, you support? Support. All right, Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes.
Thank you.
Item number 14.
Is a public hearing, determination of a nuisance at 23149 Stewart, vacant, dilapidated 1 1/2-story house with crawl space, 5-foot gate at north side, chain link fence at north and south sides, concrete rear north yard, and miscellaneous debris, and consideration and adoption of a resolution.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak to this matter? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and entertain motions from the council. Motion by Mr. Green.
Support.
Support by Mr. Warner. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item passed unanimously. Item number 15.
Item 15, also a public hearing, recommendation received from the Planning Commission to vacate Flynn Avenue, located between Beebe Avenue and vacated Buchanan Avenue, approximately 311.85 feet east of Mound Road, abutting lots 1, 5 through 8, and 14 of Hordes and Martin's plat of the Village of Warren in Section 4, in consideration and adoption of a resolution vacating Flynn Avenue, LB Associates, LLC, Charles H. Earl Jr., petitioner.
This is a public hearing. We'll open this up to the public. Hello, Mr. Earl.
Mr. President, good evening. Members of the council, my name is Charles Earl, 31851 Mound Road here in Warren. I represent LB Associates. This is a vacation of about 380 feet of Flynn Street south of Beebe to the dead end in the old village, sort of in behind the Waltonin Engineering property, which is owned by my client, LB Associates also. We've been to the Historic District Commission and got approval there. We've been to the Planning Department, a recommendation from the staff and the commission to vacate this street. A petition was submitted to the Planning Department with signatures from adjoining property owners, and we ask that you concur with the recommendation of the Planning Department and grant this abatement, and I'd be delighted to try and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public who would like to speak to this matter? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Are there any motions?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Sadowski, support by Stevens.
Discussion?
Discussion, Mr. Sadowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This project, basically has been going on for probably about a year or so, and this is the parking lot that Waltonin is putting in for their employees. I sit on the Village Historical District, and through the meetings, there were several. There were a couple of meetings that they had regarding this and making sure that they took the care that the right drainage was going to be put in, that the street was going to be lifted at the right spot. As a matter of fact, one of the streets that's listed over here does not actually exist. It's just in I guess, paperwork only. So this is going to be a huge improvement to the area. There is no historical significance to this field, and so it gets my support to go ahead and vacate this street. It'll improve the neighborhood. Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 16, Mr.
Thank you
Secretary.
kindly.
You're welcome.
Item 16, also a public hearing, recommendation received from the Planning Commission to approve request for special land use permit for Yoga Studio, property located on the north side of 13 Mile Road, approximately 301 feet, .40 feet west of Chicago Road, 8373 13 Mile Road in Section 3, and consideration and adoption of a resolution approving said request. So moved. Discussion.
There's a motion by, well, this is a public hearing. We have to open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public? Ms. Birdie?
Yes, good evening. Karen Birdie on behalf of Strong Heart Yoga and Patricia McCann, who's here from Strong Heart Yoga. My address is 27299 Bradner, Warren, Michigan, 48088. Good evening. We do, of course, want this special land use permit approved. There is a glitch. I did send out a letter to all of you with regard to that. My client proceeded to the Planning Commission representing herself when she wanted to start up Strong Heart Yoga. At that point, she was receiving approval and then received a letter, temporary C of O, and received a letter for her conditions that she needed to comply with. She proceeded to comply with all of the conditions in that letter that pertained to her. She redid the plans, submitted them through planning, and that's how we're here tonight. However, there are 3 conditions that are recommended by planning that are basically impossible for my client to comply with. They do, in fact, deal with the overall property and not just with the special land use permit with regard to the yoga studio. Those 3 items are, as a tenant, my client is unable to make plantings in the common areas of the property without landlord permission or control. Her lease will not allow her to just do that. In addition to that, there appears to be some crossing between property to the north and this property, and the Planning Department would like, and the Planning Commission would like, a cross-access agreement or to close off that access. Obviously, my client is in no position as a tenant to negotiate cross-access easements between properties, nor is she able to close off access to property when she is merely a tenant. The third item involves another tenant on the property with regard to their one-way drive-through window. The Planning Department and the Planning Commission would like to see a one-way sign that was forgotten to be placed on that petitioner's request several months ago, and in an effort to keep properties refreshed and clean them up, they would like to add it to this item. The reason I got involved is when my client, Ms. McCann, was attempting to cooperate and have these items accomplished. She contacted her landlord, is attempting to work with her landlord, and is finding very quickly that he is not as engaged in making these things happen as she would like. And so her hands are basically tied. The answer is not for her to merely ignore the city's request. We think the best solution is to bring this matter up to the city and explain to the city that these are conditions that she is unable to herself comply with, as we don't want trouble down the line, if you will. Also, in accordance with that, she has met every condition she can possibly meet herself from the Planning Commission, and as such, a $500 bond would not seem equitable. What is she posting a bond for that she's able to accomplish to achieve the return of that bond? I did speak with the planning director with regard to this, and I know that he can speak for himself, and it's my understanding he is really attempting to, and I respect this, because we're a developed city, when we redevelop properties to get them cleaned up, et cetera. But I do have to point out, in this case, it would be impossible for my client to comply. I would ask that those 3 items be waived, and that, or only the landlord be held accountable for those items, and I would ask that her bond be waived as she has complied with every condition that has been requested of her that she is able to comply with. Thank you.
We'll finish the public hearing. Anybody else from the public? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Any motions from council?
Motion to approve with discussion.
Mr. Stevens, any support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Sadowski. Discussion, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If the council members will look on their desk, there's an item there that's in reg to item 16, and it's an alternate resolution to what they received in their packet. And that resolution basically goes along the same as the original, except it ends with, be it resolved, the Council of the City of Warren hereby approves a special land use permit for a yoga studio on the following described property without recommendations and waives the $500 bond.
Is that your motion?
And that would be my motion to amend.
Is that, you support that?
That's fine by me.
Any other discussion?
Discussion.
Mr. Green?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, the city attorney, when we have a petitioner or a tenant in a landlord situation, what mechanism do we have then to bring back the landlord to comply with the original site plans that were requested? How do we get the building owner back here to have direct conversation with him and get him to comply?
Were these original requirements? Were they? Well,
What happened to the bond?
yeah. I think we can bring the landlord back, but as far as imposing these conditions through a tenant, it seems to be inappropriate, because the conditions that are imposed must be reasonable conditions.
I'm not trying, excuse me, I'm not trying to make it sound like they're inappropriate. I understand exactly what the planning department and planning commission is attempting to do, but I think we need to find some mechanism to hold the building owners, for lack of a better word, feet to the fire.
If
to
you
get
would,
things done. We don't want a building owner who's just going to scoff at the requirements of the controls, the beautification, and the contractual requirements that they have on their site.
I believe that there is a remedy for the city. The specifics of that remedy, I would be happy to lay out for you by the next meeting.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Well, isn't the other thought that send an inspector out there and see if he's complied with the original site plan? There should be a bond. Hopefully they posted it, despite the letter maybe that it doesn't happen that much, and that would enlighten us as well. So if an inspector went out there, enforced the original site plan, and then maybe we can get some response from the landlord, because everybody else that has a house is subject to any type of blight report and inspection, and why should this person be any different?
Exactly. That's right.
Mr. Stevens.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Through the chair, I see Mr. Worth is in the audience, if I may. Mr. Worth, I've got a couple questions. If my, thank you, Mr. Worth.
Ron Worth, Planning Director.
If my memory serves me correctly, these were original conditions that were not met, and i.e. the tree planting and the sign for the drive-through. The bond, was the bond a cash bond, or is that a surety bond?
It can be either.
Oh, but on the original, was it?
It can be either. It actually could be one of three, either a cash, a letter of credit, or a surety bond.
But you don't know what it was originally?
No.
Okay.
No, they, as a matter of fact, I don't believe we received it from the, you're talking about an original site plan. That's a site plan that was approved in 2010 for the coffee shop. And there were the similar requirements, conditions that we were looking for there. And the owner and the tenant there have not complied with those conditions. So these conditions lay out there, but the reason the conditions were also assigned to this special land use is because they're part of what I consider health, safety, welfare issues. I'll address the trees, and I'll eliminate the trees, needless to say. But as far as the ingress, egress, certainly there's an issue there. The one-way sign, that directs people between the two buildings, if anyone is familiar with that particular location. We don't want people going in the wrong direction and creating a problem there. The bond, the $500 bond, mostly supported the tree plantings, but it also could go to the issue of the ingress-egress document. That attorneys have to be involved to create such a document, and right now they don't have anything. So it can create some issues. That's why it was also assigned to this special land use permit. And it was also felt that the landowner has a, as I would say, major involvement in these items, not just the tenant.
I agree, but without the, so there was a bond for the coffee shop then, and that bond hasn't been returned, has it?
No, I don't believe we have received that bond as yet. Coffee shop, it's an issue that is in limbo at this point in time. I could research that for you and come back with the necessary information. I don't have that file here.
Okay.
I wasn't prepared to answer questions regarding that site plan.
All right, but I get, well, all right, but if it is a surety bond and they don't renew the surety bond, then we have nothing.
Yes, we do. We can simply go after, so to speak, go after the insurance company who holds that bond and utilize that money to make the improvement.
Okay.
Or address the issue in whatever way we need to. That's the purpose of that surety bond, so that
Right.
the insurance company can support it.
And I agree, these things need to be done, especially the one-way, because when I was over there today, it is questionable as to, which way traffic should be going through there,
Well, it's simple. We don't want people to get mixed up, and anyone who is, going to one of the shops there, including the yoga center, I really don't want to have the. I call attention to it because it's our responsibility to do so.
Right. Okay, but I must say that the arguments that were made last night at the Planning Commission meeting, and actually before, and that's why I had this was drafted up, this alternate resolution, because in my mind, it's not fair to hold the tenant responsible for the owner's responsibilities and/or a different tenant.
Well, Councilman, I do not disagree with you. I think it's unfair that the landowner isn't involved here, obviously.
And that's where we should be headed.
And I do think that in this particular case, I did some research during the day today regarding the issue of special land use, and this is a use now being assigned to this particular land use area. It's a use now to be permitted if you decide to permit it. And so there was some thought about, what happens to it.
And that was going to be my next comment.
If the tenant leaves, and at this point, everything that I looked at, and everything seems to point to this special land use being assigned to the property, and that it doesn't leave the property. It's a use now permitted at this point. I want to verify that, and I've asked some experts in Lansing to verify some of this information that I've come up with. So did a little research today.
But even with the fact that it stays with the land, it still is revocable.
That, I believe, would have to be either through ZBA, and I'm not sure. I'd have to look to see if that's
There's ZBA right there.
part of, no, if that's part of the rules that state, I'm not sure that it is in our zoning ordinance, that state that ZBA can question that, or whether it has to go to circuit court. May have to go to circuit court in order to revoke it. But as far as it moving with the tenant, I didn't see any evidence of that. I looked at state law, I looked at our own law, and they're extremely the same, so.
All right.
If I may.
Ms. Birdie, yes, I'd
I
like
did
to hear
some
what you have to
research
say.
today because, as you know, last night, this issue was debated, if you will. And I have to tell you that I found cases going two different ways. And one of the things I did find also was that we have to be careful that there's land use permits, which are not through the Zoning Board of Appeals, and there's land use variances. They are two very, very different things. Land use variances do run with the land, and the land use permits, Mr. Worth may be right. I found cases that say, one case said it's an administrative process, which would tell you that it's not quasi-judicial or legislative and may possibly be revoked. I found a case that taught where a city tried to revoke it, but they didn't follow due process, so the court said, no, you can't revoke it, but I think it was because they didn't follow due process. And then I found a case that said that the Zoning Enabling Act allows land use permits, but doesn't provide for a provision on how to revoke them. So I have to be honest with you, I don't know if land use permits stay with the land or don't.
Are we that worried about a yoga use? I mean, this is yoga.
No, I tell you, it's probably the lowest intense use you can have. So.
I know. I don't know why we're, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't know we were having to go rescind the yoga use, or were that concerned about it.
It was just a question that
Okay.
had come up,
All
so, but anyways, and that's all I have.
Then I may put it in
Thank you, Mr.
perspective. Mr. Worth, I have a question a little bit more general. And I understand this was not this is a permit, not a land use variance. And this never went in front of the ZBA, correct? Or did it?
No.
Okay, so it is different.
Yes.
And can you get a certificate of occupancy without posting a bond and/or satisfying conditions in regards to the planning commission? Yes or no? So you don't have it?
It was mentioned earlier here tonight that there was a temporary C of O that was issued to this tenant.
Does the building department contact your office before issuing a certificate of occupancy before all these things are met?
Yes, and these things have to be met first before, I mean, in a typical fashion, they have to be met first. We then send a letter to the building division indicating that the conditions have been met. Then it's for them to issue a permanent C of O, I guess we'll call it permanent.
And how did you expect the tenant to get an ingress and egress? Was that just wishful thinking? Because
Absolutely not.
how does the tenant bind a landowner to something like that?
Well, the landowner is as responsible for this, and this is a benefit, by the way, for the landowner in particular. And it is I believe firmly it's the responsibility of this landowner to be the one to provide this document.
Now, who is he providing the document for? For the tenant?
It's for the tenant and those who come to the site, come to that shopping center, and utilize the different shops that are there. This is for ingress and egress.
Ingress and egress for customers?
Customers.
and you require an ingress and egress agreement for every tenant that goes into a landlord-tenant situation in every type of strip mall? Because that just seems like a heavy...
I have, yes. As a matter of fact, I have, and we do get this commonly only under site plan approval. And then when it comes to special situations such as this, we also require it. It's extremely important that, that landowners are compliant, if you will, and that they're accepting of ingress and egress of pedestrians, drivers, and those people who are, and customers from one site to another. In this particular site, the ingress and egress, egress is with Henry Ford Health System to the north. Now, does Henry Ford Health System really want that ingress and egress? Do they, want a slew of people driving through there to get to the Bavarian commercial site? I'm not sure.
Is this the same landlord that owns Henry Ford?
No, the landowner doesn't own both of them. Not to my knowledge.
All right, that gets me to my other point, is that I think that we're giving someone that wants to create a business, and that's not the most popular strip mall. And they're looking for tenants, and the more tenants you have, the more tenants you're going to attract. And that's going to help things, all right? And I just felt that we were given looks like we were giving this person, some pretty tough conditions. The other question is time. And we want to make this town business friendly. Isn't that something we want to do to a large extent? Especially any kind of strip mall, we want to fill it up and make it business friendly, aren't we?
Councilman, that's one of my main aims.
All right. Now, in regards to timing is concerned, this public hearing was held on September 12th, correct? Is there any way we can, it's not until now, January, almost January 12th, September, October, November, almost 4 months before we can get these people even going, and now there's other conditions. Is there any way we can speed up the process?
Councilman, that was completely up to the tenant.
Well, you're saying that was the tenant that put this schedule together?
The tenant had a problem.
Okay. Ms. Birdie's indicated that.
The tenant had a problem with the site plan, and that we needed the 15 copies to be able to send them to you for your review. And we didn't get them, so we're not going to provide anything to this council unless we have the plans.
Okay. That explains probably what held it up a little bit. Right?
It most certainly did.
Thank you, then. Any other discussion? If not, we'll question the motion by Mr. Stevens with this amended conditions. And supported by Mr. Sadowski. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed unanimously. 17A.
17A, consideration and adoption of a resolution rescinding approval of intent to sell city-owned property at 11220 Chalmers for $47,000. Resolution adopted March 8, 2011, providing 30-day notice of intent to sell 11220 Chalmers at the adjusted sale price of $45,000 and placing on file with the city clerk's office said notice of intent for a 30-day period.
Motions?
Motion approved.
Motion by Green.
Support.
Support by Warner. Is there any discussion? Discussion. Mr. Sadowski, because this is going to probably apply to all the other items as well.
Yes, it will. Ms. Burgess? According to our backup, it indicates that in the past year, in 2011, we sold 12 homes. You had also indicated to me in a conversation beforehand that in 2010, we sold 12 homes as well. So 24 homes over the last 2 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what is the current inventory of homes that the city of Warren owns right now that are for sale?
I have a breakdown in my other file, but from my recollection, we have 7 homes currently for sale, and we have offers pending on 3 of them, not including these.
Okay.
Although we have had some interest in these 5 homes, we have obviously not sold them, and it's been over a year with the exception of one since the appraisals have been performed.
Now, you have come up, or I don't know if it was you, it sounds like a combination of yourself and the realtor and assessing, a formula now. Will this formula be standard as to how we will continue to price homes?
I wouldn't say that. At this time, we felt that because these homes were not moving as quickly as some of the other homes in view of the downturn in the economy, we wanted to do something to help them along. And the original appraiser did a market analysis and determined that based on homes that had sold in neighborhoods very near to the 5 homes that we will be, that council will be considering this evening, there was a need to reduce them in price. And also, the 2010 taxable value that the assessor's office had on file was looked at, and after discussing the unfortunate and inevitable decrease in taxable value forthcoming in the 2012 year, it was determined that the reduction was justified. So I think we need to look at them. These were looked at in a group because they were constructed and also appraised around the same time. But I can't say that, in 5 months we'll have the same need.
I have a question in regards to this. Did we ever think of selling them on land contract, or is there certain financing that's required? You want to get cashed out? I don't think too many of these areas are cashing out with homes, quite frankly, but has land contract been considered?
That has been looked at, but there are some limitations under the NSP funding from the federal government that prohibits us from selling them in certain ways, with the exception of one of the ones that are being considered by the council tonight. The other 4 cannot be sold by land contract.
Okay, so
The other one could be, so
which one is could be?
the one that was constructed with home funds.
All right, do we know which one that is? I'm new to that. Maybe somebody else knows.
Yes, sir.
but-
That would be the Marie address.
All right, that's item C, okay. Because it's tough in the housing business, and it's just as tough on us as anybody else then, I can see. Because these homes are all vacant, correct?
Excuse me, sir?
They're all vacant, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. If you remember, at the last meeting, there was several items that were tabled until the 24th, and I made the comment that was with the impression that CDBG needs to take a different focus. That's what I believed, and that's, and I think that this, although, yeah, some of this is NSP 1 and different, funding mechanisms that put these, built these homes, I really do believe that the CDBG needs to have a different focus. I think we need to focus more on taking care of existing homeowners, people that are in the houses, helping to fix up their houses, rather than building houses and then giving them away and selling them at a loss. And this is proof of that, in my opinion. I'm not in favor of lowering the price on these. I think that at minimum, we should hold out for a couple more months before, about 5 more months before we decide to lower the price on them. But it's definitely a losing proposition, and I don't think it's good for the city, given the current economic conditions. I think we could be doing a lot more if we were fixing up residential, people right now with the loan program, that we have, that people get on that waiting list and they're on there forever and never get the loans. So that's my current thinking on this.
May I respond, Councilman?
Sure, please.
President?
Yes.
I agree with your philosophy in general. However, because we utilize and receive different pools of funding, the different pools of funding have different limitations on how they can be expended, and NSP funds cannot be expended to rehab homes. We do have a 5-year plan in place that we presented to the City Council. I believe we met in a
I have to take exception to that because there was a number of homes that we rehabbed with NSP money, where the contractor went out and bought the houses, rehabbed them, we paid as we went along, they take draws on it. I sat on that committee, as a matter of fact, when we did that, so that's not completely true, what you're saying.
I stand corrected for NSP 1.
Right.
Okay, NSP 3 that we're now just starting to gear up to utilize and bring to council has limitations in that respect. But we do have a 5-year consolidated plan that includes all of our pools of funding. And we met in, I believe it was about a year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago, with the City Council and reviewed those funding pools and mechanisms. And I think that would be a great idea to do again. But we do have limitations in the expenditures and the ways that community development block grant funds can be used. But we do have a significant amount of those funds budgeted for rehabilitation. And we have several participants at the current time that are utilizing those funds, and we have a few on the list, and they're really not waiting that long. Some of them don't qualify. They apply, and we put them through the pre-qualification process, and for whatever reason, they may drop out. But for whatever reason, I think, again, each funding source has different limitations, and so maybe
I understand that, and I'm aware of that, but I think in addition to the limitations, by us building these houses and continuously, we get up there, and we know right off the bat that they're not going to sell, given the conditions that we're in right now. So why go through the motions?
Well, we're trying to provide affordable housing, as we've stated, and if we've sold 24 houses over the last 2 years, I think that's a pretty good track record for, in view of the economy.
Yeah, but it drives property values down, I believe. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I have one. I don't think we should be in the housing business, number one. Number two, do we pay an interest rate on this money?
On the money that we receive?
Yeah, on the money we receive in order to fix the house up, and do we
No,
pay?
sir.
No, so it's an interest-free, that's good.
No, they pay, the interest rate is paid by the applicant.
I know, but so this was, the NSP funding is free money?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that's good. But we don't get any real estate taxes while this stuff sits on the market, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and do we have maintenance costs?
Yes, we do.
See, we got to start looking at it like this as a bank too, and we got to get these things moved a little bit. So, all right, I just needed to know that we do have maintenance costs, lack of real estate being paid, and we're not doing anybody in the neighborhood a favor by keeping them vacant. Anybody else?
Mr. President?
Ms. Collegio.
Yes, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
I also agree with Councilman Stevens. Having worked in the community outreach, part of the city, so many calls would come in from people that need help that I think could make good use of some of these funds. It's kind of dismaying to see a house built and it comes on the agenda and over and over and over again, you see the price lowered and lowered and lowered. And I think you guys try your hardest. I think the economy has just turned and it's a bad turn. But if we get these funds, we have to be responsible with what we're given and make the best use of it. We have a lot of hurting residents. We have some neighborhoods that, in my opinion, are in a lot of trouble. I'm full support, Councilman Stevens. I would like to see, I'd like to see us change the use of the funds and whatever we need to do that. I'd like to see us take those steps, Mr. Secretary, as well. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Green.
just real briefly, NSP 1 money, NSP 2, are we at 3 yet?
We're just starting three.
Starting 3?
Yes.
That money had very limited, I agree with what Councilman Stevens says.
One. One was
One was fairly broad, but we did select this direction to go based on what. But these funds that are given to us, as the council president said, there's no interest on this money, there's nothing coming out of our general fund. All this is to do is to stabilize the neighborhood and to bring taxes in. That makes us revenue, so we can sustain our budget. But there was 3 or 4 things we could pick from, and this is what we selected. Would we like to take the money and put it into a different avenue? Yes, but I think we have other resources for that. There's other buckets of money that we get from CDBG, exactly. We do have those avenues to go to. So while NSP, at first it was, well, you can do it here, here, and we talked about in the very beginning that, well, we should cluster. We should put all the money into one area. No, you can't. You have to spread it out evenly amongst various economic zones. And then NSP2, we could do that, or it was NSP3, we could do that then. Yes. So it's a process that, for lack of a better word, here's some money, see if it's going to fix the area. And we picked the best one we thought at the time. That was 3-4 years ago. And now we have to stimulate the economy locally here with another one. And that, like you said, find money to put into current homeowners. But it is a process that's going to take time. We're going to see things from this investment and selling these houses now, that it's going to stabilize. We're not going to see it immediately. It's going to take time. So hopefully NSP4 will be able to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And the other thing, oh, Mr. Bacamino, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with Mr. Green because we were all here, I think Mr. Pierre and Ms. Collegio, you weren't here, but to bring up to speed, as Mr. Green has said, though, we did agree to this NSP1. This is the way to use it as a council body back at that time, and there are, of course, other limitations. The Neighborhood Stabilization Program, you know, it is trying to stabilize, and I'm looking at the question of Ms. Burgess. What would have happened to this? All these properties coming up, because we're going to, I don't want to have the same discussion over again, but these were all rebuilt with NSP money.
With the exception of one, yes.
Except for the one at Marie, right? And what would have happened to those properties had that money, let's say we had not used it or it never arrived, if we forfeited it or gave it back and the government gave it to a different city, what would have happened to these properties in the existing state that they were in?
It's likely, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but it's likely that they may have become nuisance abatements and been demolished and sat either with partial improved structure on it or none. I mean, it's difficult to say at this time, but the properties that were purchased and were demolished and reconstructed were inhabitable.
And now
Uninhabitable.
what do we have? In place of the inhabitable homes, what are in place now in those neighborhoods?
Say that again?
What is in place, rather than uninhabitable buildings, what do we now have in place?
Well, we are now, as you know, constructing new homes, which are affordable, and we hope to construct more homes with the NSP funds. If the council recalls, there were target areas that were adopted by the previous council, and I know that this council has not had an opportunity to look at those target areas, but those areas were specifically, as NSP3 has been targeted to do, to improve entire neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods that are in most need of new construction of homes. And that will require, if this council decides to go forward with that plan that has already been submitted to the government, to purchase and demolish those homes and construct new.
My next question, we've sold 24 already. Are those homes mostly sold to families? I mean, are they single?
It's a variety. There are families, there are single individuals, there are seniors, single and married. It's really a wide selection of home buyers.
Because I know when we were campaigning that, I actually saw a few of the homes, and the neighbors were pretty happy because, as you said, the previous lot was uninhabitable. Probably, as the gentleman who was here earlier, they had to bait their own property to keep the rats off of it. And now they have a brand-new house, people moving in, new people to Warren. I've talked to superintendents in the school districts in those areas. Children, for people that don't know, that enroll in your district, that equates to dollars from the state education fund, so you do need to have families in there. I understand what Ms. Collegio, Councilwoman Collegio and Councilman Stevens are saying. I agree with them philosophically. I just do remember that NSP 1, we did come to that terms, and 2 and 3 were limited even more so. I do know CDBG and there are other avenues to attack the rehabilitation problem, but we did go forward with this, and as far as the prices keep coming down, someone could tell me how to stop my house from going down in value every couple of months as well. I mean, it's the entire city. Until we hit that bottom, I think we're not going to see a change in this. I mean, if the rest of the city was going up in value, I would agree that we should not lower these prices. However, the goal is to get them on the tax roll, get someone in there, get someone, maybe a family with children, get the city, more people moving to Warren, and again, stabilize that neighborhood. I've met people who have these houses done on that street, and I have yet to hear someone say, I wish I had the uninhabitable house back on my street. Philosophically, can we do other things down the road in Warren to help others? Yeah, we have to. I agree, but this, I think we have to go ahead with this. As Mr. Pierre said, St. Pierre said, get these homes occupied, help out that particular street that it's on. I mean, we did have limitations, and we did hash this out for hours about 3 or 4 years ago. We tried to do what Mr. Stevens said. I remember about 3 years ago, we just agreed that that was not the time or place to do it, and unfortunately, the national government has tightened their restrictions on this. But I will move ahead, try to get this house sold and get it on the tax rolls, and hopefully get a family in there that maybe hasn't moved to Warren yet, and increase our tax base. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Real quickly, Ms. Burgess, with this 5-year plan and all the future NSP monies that will be coming in, will this give us the leverage to readjust how we allocate the money? Or are we going to be under the same kind of constraints of how we can spend it?
We can submit amendments to the federal government regarding NSP 3. The council approved a plan, which we did submit, but it can be amended. So, yes.
So basically, they want to see how NSP 1 and 2 affected, or whether it worked or not, basically.
Correct. And there were so many glitches in those programs, not to say they weren't good, and the money is been utilized, I believe, well in most communities, but they're now targeting different reasons, or using the monies for different reasons, I should say. And NSP 3 was very clear when we went through our training that it was to purchase and demolish and build new homes. And the other thing I wanted to add, Mr. President, if I could, in follow-up to Mr. Bacamino's question before I forget our comment, is that there are income guidelines, as I'm sure you're all well aware, and as well as for the NSP program, in order for individuals to qualify to purchase those homes. So, and they're fairly, I believe, lenient, if I could use that term. So it's not that they're not affordable. It's just that right now it's difficult to qualify for a mortgage. It's difficult to get funding, even with the assistance that is provided for the down payment on the purchase of the homes.
Mr. Warner, anything else?
Yeah,
Sorry.
so this basically will give us leverage to be able to amend as we see fit.
Yes, to a certain degree. Again, NSP 3 has some limitations, but if the council wanted to change their direction of maybe neighborhoods or, I don't want to get too specific because I want to review those capabilities or I guess possibilities before we meet so that we come
Okay, 'cause
together
yeah,
with a clear understanding of what they can be used for, other than what's been
That's not
adopted.
the issue that's before us now. I just
Right,
wanted to get some kind of glimpse into the future, but
Yeah.
with what we have in front of us now, it's basically, in my opinion, a good idea to get these on the tax rolls. So, thank you.
And the only thing I have to say, and it'll be for all of them, let's just go down to, in regards to Marigold, I know I'm looking ahead, and I'm looking at the comps, 24753 Marigold sold for 43,000. We're asking for 63,000, and it's just a few homes away. I'd like to see more comps in regards to maybe tell Real Estate One rather than square footage, because that may not mean too much, but the comps is what moves these things, and maybe that'll help us as well in making these decisions. All right, we'll question the motion
Real
regarding
quick.
Mr. Stevens.
Thank you very, I just want to reiterate that when it came to the NSP money, I'm not disagreeing that, yes, there were, we were confined to certain areas. NSP 1 was a little bit more liberal. The biggest constraint there was time with it. We had a lot more money, obviously. It was $8 million or something. But it was time that we were working under. And what I am talking about as far as taking care of homes that are occupied by current Warren residents is CDBG funds, not NSP money. I just want to be clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Question the motion. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Mr. St. Pierre? Yes. Item number B.
Item
Yes.
B, consideration and adoption of a resolution rescinding approval of intent to sell city-owned property at 11114 May for $48,000. Resolution adopted March 8, 2011, providing 30-day notice of intent to sell 11114 May at adjusted sale price of $76,000 and placing on file with the city clerk's office said notice of intent for 30-day period.
Any motions?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Sadowski.
Support.
Support by
Discussion.
Bacamino. Discussion.
Real
Mr.
quickly.
Bacamino.
I know this area very well, and I'm checking house prices is close to where I'm at, and I know it appears the house, we're lowering the price, but I have a disagreement philosophically with it. I think the market is forcing the price to go down, because in that neighborhood, all the homes there right now, if you can get that 76 or the previous homes, the 45, I think they'd be happy. So I agree with Mr. St. Pierre just said a few minutes ago. I think these houses, should they sell, even these reduced prices, would lift the prices of the homes around them rather than decrease the values. I think new homes selling in any neighborhood would increase the prices. I do know we are going in the wrong direction as far as the prices, but that's the entire market right now. Hopefully soon that direction will change, and maybe future homes will even sell for more. But right now, I'd like to see these homes sell. I do think, my philosophy is, should they sell, even at these reduced prices, it would lift the neighborhood rather than having an uninhabitable home on the block as well.
And the record should also reflect, anyone can make any offer they want. This is just the asking price, as in any listing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. There's a motion by Sadowski, support by Bacamino. Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Item C.
Item C, consideration and adoption of a resolution rescinding approval of intent to sell city-owned property at 2107 Marie for $50,000. Resolution adopted March 22nd, 2011, providing 30-day notice of intent to sell 21075 Marie at the adjusted sale price of $49,000 and placing on file with the city clerk's office said notice of intent for a 30-day period.
Is there any motion?
Motion approved.
Motion by Green, support by Werner. Ms. Bourget, in regards to, can we make this for land contract? Do we have to say that? Would it hurt? What's your recommendation? Going down $1,000, does it really make a difference? Should we go down 5,000, 4,000? What do you think? I mean, I don't want to have to come back again. We're doing all this for $1,000. I know 49 is different than 50, but still. Can we make this?
This was the property that was least in need of reduction, but we did it because we had seen some significant interest in it, and we felt that if the real estate could say it was reduced even slightly, that it would probably sell very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make it, we'll reduce it. Any further, there's motion by Green, support by, Mr. Werner. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Item D?
Item D, consideration and adoption of a resolution rescinding approval of intent to sell city-owned property at 24674 Marigold for $78,000. Resolution adopted November 9th, 2010, providing 30-day notice of intent to sell 24674 Marigold at the adjusted sale price of $63,000 and placing on file with the city clerk's office said notice of intent for a 30-day period.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Bacamino. Any support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Sadowski. Discussion, Mr.
Real quick,
Bacamino?
your question brings up another question. Ms. Borges, if someone makes an offer underneath the sale price, who determines the decision to either accept it or not? I mean, we're going at $63,000. If somebody watching today says, hey, I've been on that street, I want that house, I'm coming in at a lower than that, who is going to decide?
Lower than what the city council has placed it at?
Correct. We do take offers below that, Mr. St. Pierre's
We would
question.
have to bring it back to the city council.
So we get to decide if someone comes in below.
Absolutely.
But people watching can make that determination. and
Absolutely, they do all the time.
They do all the time, and then, well, who determines that whether to bring it back to council, since we make the decision? I mean, you're asking 63 if someone came in.
We do
at-
rely on our real estate individual, but we also talk with our assessing department, and we try to use common sense and look at it with reason. If it's reasonable, if it's not, without getting into, the real estate trade, if it's not $25,000 less, and we know that there are homes that have been verified by the real estate that it's reasonable, we will bring it back to the city council.
Okay, because I don't recall any under coming back to us. I'm not sure. Have we had some?
It's
Under
been, it's been a while.
Every one of
since-
them.
I'm sorry.
You know, but you brought them back to the agenda. We've approved them after.
Yes, after the 30-day notice is posted, then that's required by charter, then we have to bring it back to city
You
council.
have. That was what I was asking for
For
the
the
question.
sale.
You don't just get to arbitrarily say, well, this one's too far below. It
No.
does come back, and then we still get the choice to yay or nay if it comes in under the recommended price. 'Cause that's what I remember.
That has occurred, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Mr. St. Pierre? Yes. Item E.
Item E, consideration and adoption of a resolution rescinding approval of intent to sell city-owned property at 14103 Sherman for $46,000. Resolution adopted March 8th, 2011, providing 30-day notice of intent to sell 14103 Sherman at the adjusted sale price of $38,000 and placing on file with the city clerk's office said notice of intent for a 30-day period.
Motions.
So moved.
Motion by Green.
Support.
Support by Sadowski. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Discussion, Mr. Stevens.
In reference to what was said on the last piece of property, every home that was sold last year, after we reduced it once, it came back to us. And then what we took was the appraised value of the appraiser for the purchaser. If you remember, think back, that's what we were doing. So we ended up taking even less money once there was an offer in on the house. So that's, and I just think that when we keep doing that, we are helping to drive the prices down.
Correct.
So, and that's why I'm voting no. Thank you.
And that's one of the reasons I say stay out of the housing business, because no one can agree on anything, quite frankly, but there are all these differing views. In regards to the motion, there is a motion by Green, support by Sadowski. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
No.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. All right, we're out of the housing market.
Item 17F, consideration and adoption of a resolution granting an extension to the Metro Act permit issued to Michigan Bell Telephone Company, DBA AT&T Michigan, and authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute said extension.
Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Warner. Support?
Support.
Support by Green. Any discussion?
Discussion?
Discussion, Mr. Sadowski.
Do we have someone here to talk about the item? Because I had a couple of questions as to why we're only doing 2 years as opposed to 4. I know that there's going to be some changes in the law, but, okay. I'll get together with Lark after, or Judge? Judge Biernat?
Mike.
I believe that there are anticipated changes in the law, and that's why the short period of extension.
Do we have any rumblings as to what those changes are going to be?
I don't personally, nor have I been informed. Ms. Michaels of our department has been involved. She could address that issue better than anyone in the office.
I didn't get a chance to talk to her today. I was just, if we had an inkling as to what the changes were going to be, I was just wondering if it'd be more beneficial to us if we would try to lock it in for 4 years as opposed to the 2 that they're suggesting. So, I'll talk to Ms. Michaels tomorrow.
All right. As she stated, the short extension is reasonable in the light of these, the anticipated change in legal requirements, but you're addressing what are those possible changes.
Correct.
And I think that would be a prudent way to approach it. She would be conversant in that.
Very good. Thank you.
Motion by Warner, support by Green. Any further discussion? Since it involves funds, Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Item passes. G.
Item G, request for an increase in budget revenues and appropriations in the amount of $2,480, budget of the police department, to account for receipt of a State of Michigan Homeland Security CERT grant and consideration and adoption of a resolution approving said request. Motion to approve?
Motion by Stevens.
Support.
Support by Green. Any discussion? Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, item passes unanimously. H.
Item H, consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 1, Division 2, Sections 1 through 9, and Division 3, Sections 1 through 11, 1 through 15, 1 through 16, 1 through 17, and adding 1 through 19 and 1 through 20 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Warren relating to the authorization to issue appearance tickets and citations. First reading. Motion to approve.
Motion by Stevens.
Support.
Support by Colegio. Any discussion? We had committee of the whole meetings and quite in-depth discussion in regards to this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Point of information, Mr. Chair.
It passed. There is no discussion in regards to
No,
audience.
point of information. The ordinance should be read to the citizens first. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item I.
Item I, City of Warren 2011 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report.
Any motion to receive?
Motion
and
to
file?
receive and file.
Support.
Motion by Stevens, support by Warner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Item J.
Item J was an added item, request for approval of the City of Warren Police Officers Association ratified contract.
Any motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Green.
Support.
Support by, was it Mr. Werner? I think, Mr. Stevens. Sorry, didn't mean to. Go ahead. Any discussion in regards to the motion? Seeing none, we'll question the motion. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Item 18A.
Item 18, Miss A, miscellaneous correspondence. A, Ramey E. Phillips, Jr., PC, CPA, INRAE, report of audit and comments and recommendation, city audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2011.
Motion.
Motion to approve with discussion.
Support.
I think we would just receive and
Receive and
file.
file.
In regards to that, there can be discussion. Motion by Stevens, support by Mr. Bacamino. In regards to it, discussion, Mr. Stevens?
Thank you. Actually, I don't see Mr., yes, I do. There he was. I missed him earlier. Mr. Phillips, Ramey Phillips. Thank you. I appreciate you receiving my request and that. I just had a couple questions, and the main one is on your recommendation on the inventory. What drew your attention to that anyways, if I might ask?
To that?
Yes.
Well, as part of the audit, when you do an audit, each year you you rotate, you look at different things, okay? And this year it happened to be, as I was taking the inventory, the salt was there. And then a lot of times you may pick an area, like sometimes you might do the manhole covers, just look at invoice, see if they come in. And when you started looking at the salt and stuff, all of a sudden it was like there's a lot of salt coming in and didn't look like much going out. And then when you took the inventory, it wasn't there.
Okay, so that's what...
It's a normal course. I mean,
Yeah.
It may be 3 years before I do anything with the salt again, or, it depends.
Right.
Element
Well,
of
it-
surprise is what they call it.
Yeah, it's just something that I'm intimately familiar with, and for me to read this, it looked a little, the numbers looked a little bit high to me, but I happen to deal with this, every year myself, so it didn't shock me to see this, because I know how it actually works, you know.
Accumulates fast.
Well, when it comes in, it's got a tear weight,
Yes.
but after that, it's a guesstimation, or what they call a swag.
Yes.
For the most part. And, and some of it is peer pressure from the other drivers that are actually putting the salt down. They don't want to say, I put down 20 tons tonight or whatever and stuff. So they'll actually put down less number or less amount than that. So then your numbers get bad and stuff. But that was my main thing. And there was anything else that your considerations, did you happen to look back at the inventories on the water department by chance? Oh, no, that's what I wanted to ask you last time, because that's what was before us last time.
Well,
And I missed you.
The inventories on the water department, we've got those fairly stabilized now. For the past 2 or 3 years, they've been good inventories. It's taken a couple years to flush out like some of obsolete parts that maybe shouldn't be there, and sometimes it was determining because some of Warren's, and I'm not the engineer, so I might misspeak this a little bit, but some of Warren's water lines are older, so a lot of the old inventory stuff you'll keep, like the repair sleeves, you might not use them for 5 or 6 years, but if you have those size of lines or where that part could be used, a lot of times you hold on to it and stuff. So now I think there's a good handle on what is good and what's bad.
Okay, I understood, and I beg the indulgence of my fellow council members, but on the last audit, I didn't get to ask that question, so because you had made a recommendation, if I may, just one more, that they increase the amount in their audit, or the amount of inventory.
they did increase the inventory, but they increased it, but it was also spread out over parts that they needed more, and it was more directed towards parts. Instead of stockpiling parts that weren't used for 5 years, it was more current parts that came in. And there was a point in time there where it wasn't necessarily what was the value of what you needed to operate the water department. And now it's kind of stabilized at that number.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Sadowski.
Mr. Phillips, the formula that you use to determine, I mean, I understand the beginning balance, but how did you determine the ending balance for the quantity of salt?
For the quantity of salt?
Yeah. How did you determine what was leaving the silo? Because there's obviously you have to calculate some way as to the salt's brought in, or the beginning balance is this, X amount of salt is here, we now have this, and how were you justifying what was being placed onto the road?
Okay. Basically, you start with a number which was an estimate before of what is in the salt barn. Then at the end of the year, you take an estimate of what you think is in the salt barn. Basically, the barn is 5,000 tons, and if it's about halfway full, it's about 2,500 tons. And I wish I could tell you it's exacting, but it really isn't. It's not that exacting. So you start with the beginning, and then what I did from there, I took the purchases going through the purchasing department of the salt that came in. So that then gave me the salt at the beginning, the salt that was purchased, and you had X number of tons of salt to account for. And then after that, there's logs and stuff as the salting, like when you salt for a snowstorm, there's records that kept of the salt going out. And then you subtract that from that, and that should be back to about the 2,500 tons, which was estimated in there. And it came out to, I think it was about 6,700 tons. So it was over. That's the difference there. Then when you get back into it, you get into the discussion of, okay, what happened to it? And Councilman Stevens mentioned a lot of it, what happens, and I know that happens, but in past years, it's always worked out a little closer when that's been checked, or the adjustment to the inventory has been a little closer. So this year it was more significant, and I just feel that there should be more controls because it got up to close to $200,000 that was unaccounted for.
So basically, if we had drivers not logging in accurate amounts as to what was going out, that's where we could have a control problem.
You could have a control problem. You've got salt coming in that has to go into the barn. That has been delivered. I think sometimes it was even delivered after hours, which, as I understand it, that's been stopped. And now the controller's office has met, and I know they put in a lot of controls, and one of them I know they're doing more testing of the weighing of the trucks, more looking at what comes in to make sure that it comes in. And I know they've been working with the drivers to try and get more of a accurate as to what's going out. Because when I did the inventory and when I got done with the opening, the purchases, and what they told me went out, their logs and stuff, I wound up with roughly 6,700 tons of salt, and the barn only holds 5,000 tons of salt. But I think now they've started doing more preliminary inventories in between to check it, so they'll be able to, if they can isolate when it happens, they'll be able to solve the problem because they'll be able to figure out more where it's at.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Stevens?
Yeah, just one more thing. You said in the past that the estimates, and that's exactly what they are, were more accurate. This time, there was a new person doing the estimate because the other guy that used to do it for years retired. Is that correct?
You'd have to ask. I don't know for sure that answer.
Yeah, that is the case because I did check, around to make sure. Okay. So that's part of the problem.
Yes.
And in fact, it's like, and this is, and that's why I asked why you picked this to inventory, because it's like me going out on the front lawn out here and saying, there's 2 trillion pieces of grass out there, and somebody from the audience goes out and looks at the same area that I looked at and says, nah, I think there's 3 trillion, you know? And that's why I asked that, how you got to this and why you picked this to inventory, because it is so objective, and there are so many areas in it to come up wrong. Like I said, the only time there's a tear weight is from the truck from the supplier coming in. After that, it's all guesstimation.
Right.
And in fact, I looked at the dome down there. I think that's a bigger dome than 500 or 5,000 tons. And I talked with Mr. Neighbors today. He has the plans for the dome, and what we're going to do is we're going to get the exact dimensions and figure out how much salt that dome can actually hold. And then we'll make some marks in there,
Right.
so that when you go out to look at it, you'll get a better estimation of what is actually in there.
Yeah, there's a conversion factor between the yards and the tons of 1.08, I believe it is, and if you once got the volume of that pyramid, you could probably back it back in.
And that's the other thing in the equation. The drivers that, when they bring it in, it's in tons.
Yes.
When the drivers that put it on the street are using yards.
Yes.
So there's just more confusion in there. So there is some work that we can be done to get that swag closer, but it's never going to be that close. I guarantee you.
I don't expect it to be
All
that
right.
close.
And that begs the next question. Did we look at the history? Has it been that way all the time, or is this something new?
Well, looking back over the years, I only recall one year we made a $60,000 adjustment to it. Other years, it's been closer than that.
Do you remember that year?
No, I don't.
Okay, so it must have been a while ago.
I only remember
The guy
that-
with
I only
numbers,
remember that from
if you're that good
discussions.
with numbers, it has to be a while ago then.
Yeah.
All right, thanks very much.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. 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 Anyone opposed? Motion to receive and file pass. Item B.
Item B, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving request of Universal Macomb Ambulance Service Incorporated for renewal of license to operate ambulance service in the city of Warren.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Warner, support by Greens. Discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Williams, just real quick on Universal Certificate of Insurance, they didn't check the box for any auto, scheduled auto, hired auto. It's none of them. I just noticed that. If you could just get it updated, sorry.
I will get it updated tomorrow. It wasn't sent through to my office,
just saw
so
it.
I'll make sure that I do get it updated.
That's all I wanted.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll include that in the resolution. Is that part of the motion?
Please.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Item C. Motion passed unanimously.
Item C, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving requests of MedStar Ambulance for renewal of license to operate ambulance service in the city of Warren.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Support.
by Green, support by Stevens. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Item 19, audience and opportunity for citizen participation.
I have to have the list, and then I'm going to tell anybody that there's 1 minute left in regards to 3 minutes, so I don't interrupt you. I know how distracting that can be. There's only one person? I don't have any other ones. Yeah, we'll close the time to hand in slips. There'll be more, I'm sure. All right, we'll call the first person, Tony Police.
He's going to give me kudos now for voting against that stuff.
Tony, please, 8520 Darlene. I see you didn't take my advice, Mr. St. Pierre. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody. Second of all, Mr. Stevens, congratulations on your discussion about what we're selling these homes for. And the question that I thought would be asked, wasn't asked by anybody up there, is how much did it cost to get that house in the shape where you could sell it for $50,000? $75,000? Well, there's no doubt in my mind that it's come up a lot of times. They tear a house down, build a house for $60,000, sell it for $45,000, sell it for $50,000. Got a house right across the street from me that just sold for $59,000. And it's the same, the sad part about it is pretty much like mine. What the hell am I going to do with $59,000 if I could get a buyer at that price? And as long as the city stays in the real estate business, that's what's going to happen. The prices are going to keep going down. There's no way in heck, don't want to say hell again, no way in heck that it's not going to push the prices down. Let the private industry take care of the real estate. You have enough to do in the city of Warren to take care of the city, let alone be a real estate thing. And to think about selling it land contract or something like that, that makes it even worse for the city as far as I'm concerned. Now you got somebody to have to watch over it. When I came here, I thought I would give a chance for Mr. St. Pierre to gavel me down, call a cop, or do whatever. And I still may do it. I don't know. I still have the bike, and I have some time. I don't understand it. Is it because you want to show the citizens of Warren that you're a better council or a better president than the last one? You're controlling it more? Now, that's fine and dandy. Control, I understand control. I understand keeping the meeting rolling and whatever, and I have a minute left. I will try to get it done in a minute, but we'll see how far we go. The second thing I want to tell, oh, nice clock. I just noticed it. The second thing I want to say is this. I have 2 metal hips. I have arthritis. And I got a bunch of other stuff going with my heart. And I will tell you this, if I do decide to go past it and challenge it, no cop better put a hand on me, or it'll be a lawsuit. I can tell you that. I hesitate doing it, even talking like this, because that's not my nature. Everybody knows that I always come up, said what I wanted to say. Most of the times it was mostly good news, and the other good news is this. Everybody knows who I supported for mayor, but Mayor Fouts is my mayor, and I'm going to congratulate him on the nativity scene in City Hall. I'm glad he stood up to them people from whatever state they came from to try to tear it down and to do this and do that. We are a Christian society, and
Thank you very much. Time is up.
we are a Christian society,
and I tried to be courteous.
if they would have just wanted to put something up, not against all the religions, I suppose he would have done it. I don't know. But again, Mayor Fouts, congratulations on sticking to your guns, and Mr. Stevens, on your stay on top of this real estate business that we're in right now.
Thank you, Mr. Police. The next person is Patricia Zukowski? You said it better than me. Maybe repeat it again when you get up here.
I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak to the council. My name is Patricia Jetchowski. I've been a resident for 38 years of Warren on Regal Drive, which is north of 13, east of Shaner. In our water bill recently, we got a notice of how to prevent water and sanitary backups. I've been flooded about 12 times now since I've lived in Warren, and the flooding of the end of May and November were the worst that I've ever had. The lowest point in our subdivision is Parkside, and there's approximately 20 homes on Regal Drive alone that were impacted by these floods. 15 years ago, there was a class action lawsuit, and it was discovered at that time that there were 5 areas in Warren that were being flooded, had continual problems with flooding, and that they were all for different reasons. The current city council is not responsible for the mistakes or governmental neglect of the past, but it has a responsibility to its residents to correct the situation impacting the health and the homes of its citizens. The job of government is to provide citizenry what it cannot provide individually for itself. Upgrading the infrastructure in our area is an absolute necessity. And the final question becomes, who wants to buy a house that's constantly being hit by floods in a city that doesn't care? Thank you.
I'm sorry, thank you very much. Karen Springer.
Good evening. You have failed again to do the public hearing right and to let the people know about the proposed ordinance. It was in the e-packet today. I briefly got to read about it. As a citizen, I'm going to have to take drastic measures, file a complaint with the Attorney General's office, bypass the city attorney to let him know they failed the citizens' right to know about laws that you guys are taking in consideration to pass either on our behalf to protect us or to infringe on my constitutional rights as a homeowner, on giving people authorization that should not have it, but you're granting them this authorization through this ordinance, and the people are not educated, or it was publicly published for us to read and to give us our input in the democracy we live in. You guys know better. The old council people really know better. Now, how are we going to correct this problem of communication and transparency in the government? Remember, we the people are part of this government. You are going to force people not to want to live in the city of Warren because of this new authorization ordinance that's going to police every little thing that you can possibly think of, and it violates state law. And if you're going to get into law, let's do it right. Let's have a public hearing. Let's voice opinion about this. If you can write this ordinance, why can't a citizen write an ordinance? I've been complaining about the safety and health of this new water meter program. This new water meter program is not something we voted on. You guys approved it. The mayor approved it. The water department approved it. City council gave money of $9 million in a bond that we're going to pay for. And we can't say no to a project that doesn't have safety in it. I can't even get the name of the product, the manufacturer, the model, the make number, the FCC regulations on this product. What is this radio frequency? Now, we don't even have a good ordinance on the books for DTE not to come in our city. Other cities care about their citizens. Why don't you get on board and start caring about us too? Let us participate and give good criticism and make a difference. We live here. You're making us move out, and you're going to do a good job either way.
Thank you, Ms. Springer. Tomas Banya.
Good evening, Council. Tomas Banya, resident of Warren. I'd like to start off by saying that I hope everyone had an enjoyable holiday and a good start in the new year. First thing I'm going to talk about is something that I brought up at the last meeting. And the agenda item was to appoint Barbara Friedel to the Housing Commission. And I brought up an issue regarding whether Helen Christofchik was being replaced. Well, looking through the state laws and looking through the city charter and all that, I realized that you guys made an error. MCL 125.654, Section 4, Subsection 3 states, upon recommendation of the appointing authority to the governing body of the incorporating unit may remove a member of the commission from office before the expiration of his or her term, subject to subsection 2. A vacancy in office shall be filled by the appointing authority for the remainder of the unexpired term. You guys might have voted someone in, but if the intention was to replace Helen Christofchik with Barbara Friedel, that was not completed. She's still on the board according to the actions that you guys made at that council meeting, at least in my opinion. I may be wrong. There was another thing I was going to talk about, but I don't have the backup on that, unfortunately. A question I do have, though, is was there notice for that committee of the whole regarding the possible ordinance change? I believe it was published in the newspaper for the actual ordinance, but I don't believe there was a notice for the committee of the whole. In regards to the park on 9 Mile, I see it's been open 3 days since the beginning of the year. But every single other day that I've ever seen the park, it's always been closed. I was told the reason is because parks are supposed to be closed in the winter. I could have sworn all the parks are open in the winter. So I believe either a city employee was in error or something else occurred. Another thing I've got here, and this will be my last thing, is I filed a FOIA request on the possible private investor or public investor for the Walmart Tech Plaza property. A month later, I finally receive a response saying it's denied because there's no record. So if there's no record, how could we possibly know about some possible investor that I guess doesn't exist? Actually, I did forget 2 more things. Announcements isn't supposed to be on the agenda, and just a suggestion for Parks and Recreation. It would be nice for members that have gold passes, like me, I've had one ever since the Warren Community Center has opened, possibly affording them the opportunity of bringing a free guest. I mean, they pay, at least in my case, a significant sum of money, and let them invite a guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Banya. There is the Robin Rykoff. Oh, Wesley Arnold. Yep. Such a good job.
President St. Pierre, would you please look at what is written where it says pronounced? I say your name correctly, learn my name. I corrected you at the very first meeting when you said my name incorrectly. Then when you cut me off from speaking. When I come up here, I want my name pronounced correctly. I've been coming to this podium for over 3.5 years. You're new on the council, but if you'd been watching the council meetings religiously over those 3.5 years, you'd know how to say my name. Now, on another subject, I didn't happen to pull the posting that was put on the Warren Forum probably about a year and a half ago. It was on the topic of the lighting of the parking lot. I haven't been here in the month of December for the 2 meetings. Actually, I came for 1 meeting and was rudely interrupted. Then I came for the second one, and I got turned off by this council, especially you, Mr. President, not showing respect to people. You know what? You're just slightly older than I am. I expect respect from you. I am a resident of the city, have been for 25 years. Respect me. But going back to the lighting, when I pulled into the driveway, I saw 3 lights out in that parking lot. We are back to again where our Parks and Rec Department director does not go and come around here at night to see how many lights are out. Is this going to be the new pattern again? Looks like it. I didn't go to the backside to see how many there were because the meeting starts right exactly at 8 o'clock. The other thing is, I love the audience. We have 9 people here for this meeting. Everybody was complaining, the last council, that we needed more audience participation. We want to change the audience participation part of the meeting so that we have more residents that are coming to the meeting. This is disgusting to see 9 people here, not counting the people that are representing other people, lawyers, city employees, that are discussing other things that are on the agenda. This is supposed to be a meeting for the residents. This is a sure tale of the council that we have present, that there was more discussion with the old council than there is with this new one. What are you, as council members, each one of you, going to do to get more people to come to the council meetings? One is respecting the residents that come up here to this podium. 2 is not going 70707070, which you guys have had.
Wesley Arnold.
Okay, good evening, Council. I am Professor Wesley Arnold, sometimes known as a humble historian. I've been called a lot of other names. I've done a little bit, I've done a lot of research on Warren history, and I've noticed something that's very common with cities nowadays, a lack of intelligent planning. Now, I'm not here to throw rocks. You guys know me. You'll be getting something in your email that you should take care of, or it's going to blow up. But that's something else from me. We need, in this city especially, we need a little bit more intelligent planning. I know you're not the one to squawk at it. Maybe I'm preaching to the choir here. Because Warren just has too much urban sprawl. We have too much traffic. We have too much noise. If you're talking about the ideal, we have too much pollution. We have too much green versus, well, I blew that. We have too much cement versus green areas. Okay? Some people even say we have too much overcrowding because it's a city. Well, there's a few other things. We waste a lot of good water. A lot. And we pay dearly for that. We pay a lot for this water, this good water that we pay to throw away. It's kind of ridiculous. We waste money, especially this last year, on green roofs, when we really should consider solar panels. This is, 2012. Solar panels pay and pay for years and years. Trying to plant an idea here. So does insulation. It pays and pays. And so does geothermal. Sure, it costs, but it pays. Take a look at Schofield School and see what they're doing. They just put that in. The city and homeowners can benefit from solar panels and insulation and geothermal. And maybe as a city, we could get together and facilitate that for the city and for homeowners. It needs a little planning. People could save millions, and so could the city, if we could just promote and use intelligent planning. Thank you.
Item passed unanimously. We are adjourned. Oh.